Hello everyone, and welcome to this edition of News You Can Use. I'm Ann Baldwin, and as you may or may not know, after I left my job in broadcasting after many years, I started Baldwin Media Marketing, which I am pleased to say has been growing strong now for 20 years now, if you can believe that. Well, one of the first things that I learned when thinking about starting my own business is that you should have, if you don't have, a plan. And that's why I have Gary Burdick here. He's a Senior Vice President and Chief Commercial Banking Officer of Simsbury Bank to talk about just that. Gary, welcome to the program. This definitely fits the category news you can use. A lot of people out there thinking about starting their own businesses or maybe have their own businesses. So first of all, why is it important for someone to have a business plan?
And it's not only important to have a business plan, it's essential to have a business plan. What a business plan does is it provides the overall direction for the company, for the business. And it includes critical details associated with that business, such as the business objective, the prospective market, the marketing plan, the sales goals, the competitive advantage that that business will have. It also includes the credentials of the individuals who are associated with that business and what it is that they bring to that business. And in addition, it includes projected financial statements and financial information. And most importantly, Ann, it's not a static document. It's a forward-looking document. It's concerned with 5-year goals, not just the first year of operations or the first 12 months of operation. So it's really got a look forward approach to it.
You know, and Gary, you mentioned something that really applies to my experience, and that you said it's a fluid plan. Because what my plan looked like 20 years ago when I was going to start my own business and what it's evolved into over the years, night and day. You wouldn't even recognize it. But that's the beauty of thinking the process through and the importance of that. Now, some people out there might say, I want to start my own business, but I don't want to put that much work or that much thought into it. Why is it important?
It's critical to have a well thought out business plan because any prospective lender, such as Simsbury Bank, or an investor is going to really analyze that business plan when they make a determination as to whether or not they want to lend to that business or invest in that business. So a critically thought out, well executed business plan is absolutely imperative.
And how much work does it take? I mean, does it depend on the business that you're going to go to, or I mean, is everybody's plan, does it look different?
Well, Ann, there are actually, despite or no matter what type of business you're talking about, there are some common essentials associated with every business plan. And I could quickly go through some of those.
Sure, that'd be great.
First and foremost, we have an executive summary. And the executive summary really details the overall business objectives of that entity, what the qualifications are of management, what their vision statement is, what it is that they bring to the table, and what they expect from that business. That's followed by a business analysis. A business analysis describes the value proposition of that company. What are the business goals? What are the sales goals? What are the measurements that are going to be used? What are the metrics that are going to be observed to determine, and the milestones to determine what success looks like and when success is achieved? There's also an industry analysis that really looks and broadly describes the industry that the business will be in. And it also talks about trends in that industry and any competitive or market intelligence that you might have with respect to who your competitors are. That's followed by a customer analysis. Who are your customers? Mm-hmm. Where are your customers? What are your customers? Why do they buy? Where do they buy? How do they pay? What are their payment habits? So there's an awful lot of information that you need to know about the customers, the demographics, the market demand, and things like that.
And to that point, I would think that like what I assumed and where I assumed my customers were in the beginning, once I started to dig into it forcefully in my situation, by my business plan, it was like a reality check where I thought my customers were, and more importantly, who I thought they were, was totally different in reality. So this plan, and especially that particular component, forced me to think a little bit differently. So that's one that I have a fond, not so fond memory of.
Well, you actually learned an important lesson, and it goes back to what we said just a moment or two ago about the dynamic nature of a business plan. It's not a static document. You don't write it and put it on a shelf. You don't write it and store it in a file on your computer.
Right.
businesses evolve, businesses change, and things are not always what they're expected to be. And the business plan isn't always a straight road to where it is that you're trying to go. So as we talked about, you've got to be able to evolve the business, and you've got to be able to modify the business plan.
And I kind of cut you off in the middle of your list, but this list, is very, very important. So you'll also need to do the next one on the list, a product analysis.
That's right. You really need to take a look at what is it that you're bringing to the marketplace, a product that you're going to sell, a service that you're going to provide. What's unique about your product or your service? What sets you apart? What differentiates you from the customer, from your competition, and that will apply to your customers? And that's an important component of doing this also. And you look at, are there barriers to entry with respect to my product or service? But really key there is, hopefully there's something that differentiates you and your business from your competitors. That's usually followed by a marketing strategy, probably near and dear to your heart.
I can help with that.
So, how will you promote the product? What tactics will you use? Where will you promote it? In what avenues will you promote it?
And at what cost?
And at what cost? How will you distribute it? How will you position it? I mean, so many things there with respect to marketing, and in this day and age, given all of the avenues that exist for marketing, which are different than what they were just 5 or 10 years ago, that's also a key component. And there's really only a couple more, Ann. One is management team bios, management team biographies associated with the people that are running the business, and also the owners of the business. So what is it that they bring to the table?
And
What's
an
unique
operating
about
agreement
them?
so that you're, I know that the banking piece of starting a business and a business plan is very important, but so are the legal aspects, filing that LLC, filing the paperwork with the state, making sure that you have an operating agreement so everybody understands what the legal logistics of this are going to be as well. So weaving that in there. And then the final one is the...
Well, if I can comment
Okay.
about something
Sure.
that you just said, you brought up another point which is really wasn't part of what I was going to discuss, but it's key, it's critical. Every business should have advisors. So you should have a CPA, you should have an accountant, you should have an attorney, because that professional advice is invaluable and it helps you steer the course and do it correctly and do it the right way in terms of trying to determine your success. But the last item, near and dear to any banker's heart, whether it's at Simsbury Bank or any other bank, is really the financial information. And that really takes 3 different forms. We should have information related to sales, expenses, and income, usually captured by a profit and loss statement or an income statement. We should have some information about how the business is capitalized via a balance sheet. How much debt is there? How much equity is there? And then lastly, and perhaps most importantly, we really need to have projected cash flow statements, because ultimately that's what pays the bank back, and that's what pays the return that the investors are looking for.
So the bottom line is, if you're starting a business and you're looking to borrow money from a credible institution like Simsbury Bank, then you need to do all this. You have to have your, financial house and really your business plan in order. What happens if you don't? You can't just walk into a bank and say, hey, I want to open a donut shop, can I borrow some money? No.
Well, you could. You wouldn't get very far. I think your probability for success would be pretty modest at that point. Because how is it that we evaluate what it is that you're trying to do?
Right.
How do you evaluate what it is that you're trying to do if you don't have the plan?
Right. And I know when I started, and I actually took classes, and there are a lot of resources out there through the Small Business Association, and if you just go here in Connecticut, there's just so many different folks, and you've actually done our homework for us, and you can cite a couple of those places.
Sure.
SBA and those types of things where people can get help, get information, get guidance, and some of those organizations include retired professionals who have started their own businesses and been so successful that they can enjoy that word retirement.
That's true, Ann. We frequently refer people to SCORE, and that stands for the Service Corps of Retired Executives. And they do an awful lot of counseling and workshops. They do it through chapters across Connecticut. The Hartford chapter does a business basics seminar once a month, and they also partner with the SBA and the Small Business Administration. So they're actually an invaluable resource. We also, at Simsbury Bank, will refer people to the Connecticut SBDC, the Small Business Development Council. And that's really an affiliation with the Connecticut State University system, with the Small Business Administration, as you mentioned, the SBA, and also with the DECD, the Department of Economic and Community Development here in Connecticut. And they do, again, they do workshops and seminars. They have a broad range of assistance that they can provide to the to an entrepreneur or a business owner who's looking not only to prepare a business plan, because they have seminars on that, but also how to manage your business and also how to measure the success of your business. So they really offer quite a bit to either an existing business owner, a prospective business owner, or an entrepreneur.
Right. And a lot of these are state agencies, and the state obviously has a vested interest and wants to see young entrepreneurs and business owners, you know, grow and succeed and expand, because that, in my opinion, is what's really stirring this economy right now, is that. And the other thing I'd like to say is, you know, don't be afraid of the process. I mean, it sounds like a lot, maybe on this particular program. It may, oh man, do I have to do all that work and due diligence? Yes, you do, because if you want to be successful in the end. But I can also tell you, as a small business owner, there is nothing more rewarding than creating and having your business survive, in my case, for 20 years. So I think I'm over that hump.
Yes, but.
Oh, yes, but.
Because remember, we said earlier, it's dynamic. Businesses are dynamic, businesses aren't static, and you probably still have an idea as to where you'd want to take Baldwin.
But you know, the last time I looked at my business plan, you bring up a good point. 18 years ago?
Not good. Not good. You've been successful despite that, but the reality of it is, if the business probably didn't go in the direction that you thought it was going to go in, or didn't go in the direction and the route that you thought it was going to go in. So quite frankly, you've still got ambitions and goals to further improve the success of your business, and really should update the business plan to reflect that.
I think I will do that. Wow, I guess I got a little reality check in this segment that I didn't anticipate.
For free.
For free. Nothing in life is free, but thank you very much. Well, I want to thank Gary Burdick of Simsbury Bank so much for joining us, as this truly was news you can use. And again, if folks out there want to know more about starting their own business and accessing the professionals who can help you with that, you can go to Simsbury Bank's website at simsburybank.com. And trust me, there's nothing like being your own boss. We want to thank you so much for watching this edition of News You Can Use. Up next, we're going to be talking with Christina Brown, the Assistant Vice President and Cash Manager at Simsbury Bank, about just that, cash management. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of News You Can Use. I'm Ann Baldwin. Well, one of the most important things that I learned in running my own business is the importance of cash management. And one way to grasp the importance of cash management is to view cash as your most important resource. And to talk more about that today, I want to welcome Christina Brown, Cash Management Officer of Simsbury Bank, to talk just about that. And again, as a business owner, as a consumer, explain to us, Christina, what is cash management as it applies to banking?
Well, thank you, Ann, for having me. Cash management is basically a suite of products and services that are generally tailored to businesses to help them maximize their cash flow.
Okay, and so briefly describe what some of those might be. I mean, I know the obvious ones, like as a business, being able to utilize a cash deposit box, you know, just business checks and things like that.
Right.
But I know that this also, cash management is it's evolving, and it has to, because of businesses growing and technology.
Yep.
So what are some of the new things that, for example, at Simsbury Bank, that you offer businesses with cash management?
Right. The most popular option that we have right now is what we call a remote deposit capture. And basically that's a machine that the businesses keep in-house, and they scan all of their checks right there, so they don't have to create a deposit ticket and actually go to the bank. So they can do everything in-house. So it's really taking a hold of the technology. Another option on the same front is merchant capture processing, where again you can have a terminal in-house where customers can take payments, such as credit cards, right in their business. But the great thing with that is you can also do it on a smartphone, so you can be out at a trade show or what have you and take payments right there.
You know, it's interesting. I've been out at a lot of the the fairs, in Connecticut. And I love going to the little craft fairs and things. And people actually have that ability. These are vendors, but I look at them as businesses who have that ability because they can do it right there on their phone.
Right.
And it's safe and secure.
Yep.
That's the important part, right?
Exactly. The most important part.
Any other components of that, or are those really kind of the highlighted ones?
There's also payroll processing, which encompasses a lot more than just payroll. It can help you do taxes, HR, also time and attendance management, which is a great feature. So those are some of the main ones. We also offer ACH, lockbox services, domestic wires, pretty much everything that includes electronic and paper management. We're here to help for that.
Well, and one of the things that I don't know, it's not necessarily a good use of somebody's time to be doing these things in my office. So if I know that my bank can do that, and especially my community bank can do that, it just takes, and that gives me time to do what I should be doing, and that's, maintaining and growing my business. Now, does this also have advantages when it comes to cash management and collecting revenue?
It does. Cash management services are there to help speed up the revenue collection process. So for example, with the ACH module, you can not only pay your bills faster, but you can also take money from the vendors that owe you money. So you don't have to go through the paper process of invoicing, waiting for checks to come through, waiting for that money to clear. It's just immediately there for you.
But I would assume that the vendor has to sign off on the fact that, yes, you can take those funds.
Yes,
So
yes.
there are checks and balances. I mean, it sounds like the bank has those things in place.
Oh, yes.
So that you still have peace of mind that everything is still safe and secure, because let's face it, that's a big concern of a lot of people out there with a lot of the things that have happened.
I agree.
Okay, so if people want to know more about cash management services offered by Simsbury Bank, where can they get that information?
Well, they can call any of our local branches. They can go to our website. All that information is out there for everyone to review, and of course anybody will be able to answer those questions for them.
And the website we should mention is simsburybank.com.
Yep.
Now, one of the things too that I know from my personal experience that helps me when it comes to cash management is because let's say it's tax time, or let's say you go through that unfortunate notice that you're going to be audited. So organizationally, and financial organization of a business is really key. And I would assume that a lot of the tools, whether it's the ACH, the business sweep accounts, domestic, international, transfers, all those kinds of things, just kind of help you know that it's all in one spot.
Right. With, like you said, with taxes and audits, with Simsbury Bank's cash management suite, we offer great tools for customers to stay organized. They can view transaction history and balances, but also structure it where they can view expenses and deposits. And another great tool we offer is where you can export to any financial software that you may be using. So for example, if a business is using QuickBooks, they can just export all that information over, and it can be uploaded so when their CPA comes around, they have all their information ready to go.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's something that I wasn't aware of. So it doesn't mean if you've already got internal systems, a lot of what you do is compatible with what you already have existing.
Right.
So that is fantastic. So give me an example of some of the types of customers that take advantage of these services, cash management services.
Well, really, it could be any size business. It can be the small mom and pop convenience store right around the corner. And these days everyone carries plastic, and they need a tool to be able to accept that. So again, the merchant processing would be a great tool for them. You can also be a very large business such as a doctor's office where you have a lot of patients and lots of checks coming in, and you already have sensitive information enough being a doctor's office, so to include the banking in there is pretty hard. So we would offer them the lockbox service where it's a secure outside source where all their checks are processed, and they still get a detailed list of everything that comes and goes, so they can still keep track of it, but they're focusing on their patients as opposed to worrying about the banking.
Wow, it's not as cumbersome. And I understand too that especially at Simsbury Bank that, these are the services that you offer now, but you're always looking, and part of your job is to be looking at innovations and what's next and the future of banking. I mean, if we just think back 10 years from now, look at all that
Totally
has changed. The good old-fashioned days. But there's also something, even like a Simsbury Bank, where you still can walk into that bank and
Right.
you know the name of that teller, and you still get that, that community service that people are accustomed to. So this doesn't replace that.
No, we at Simsbury Bank, we tailor our suite of products to as much or as little as they need. So if they want a lot of help from us, we're happy to be there. We have plenty of knowledgeable associates in every department that are able to help, or if they just want to come in and make their deposits on a weekend, then that's fine with us too.
Great. Well, we have just a couple of minutes left, not even that. Anything else that you wanted to talk about that I didn't get to?
Just, that Simsbury Bank, we are very customer oriented and focused. So as I said, I just would like to reiterate that we do tailor our suite of products to any size customer. So whether they're small or large, don't feel as if you don't qualify.
Right.
Come to us and we would be happy to put a plan together, a proposal, and
That
see
works for you.
what we can do
Right.
to make them work.
Right. Every customer matters.
Right. We want them to be profitable because it benefits the both of us. If they're doing good, then we want to see them succeed.
Great information. Thank you very much. Christina Brown of Simsbury Bank, I want to thank you so much for joining us, as this truly was, again, news you can use. And as we mentioned earlier, if you want to know more about cash management and accessing professionals who can help you with that, you can go to Simsbury Bank's website, simsburybank.com. Thanks again for watching this edition of News You Can Use. We'll see you next time. I'm Ann Baldwin. Yay, you did a great job.